I'm about to buy a house here out in Lake Bay, and well, let me show you. Here is the house in question. It's, well, maybe missing a few things, and it might be overrun by a Scotch broom, and my microphone I forgot to bring, so I'll talk here in the office, but just to give you a glimpse of this garage and what kind of site we're dealing with. Now that was a smooth transition back to the office. Okay, I'll admit, my house is missing a few things, and that probably explains why it only costs 25% as much as a regular house. Not to mention it's been completely invaded with Scotch broom, which has had multiple years now to fester in the site and even getting into the crawl space of the house itself. And every individual Scotch broom will take a shovel and a hand to rip out, and we're talking about half an acre of Scotch broom. So it's gonna be a fun couple weeks here, but I think it's worth it. Editor, cut back to the field. You can see the neighbor here in the background. Decent sized house. Good comp for what I can build here and what the market would pay for it. But here we're standing in the garage, and after much weeding, what I still haven't finished yet, here is the rest of the house. Lots of footings, lots of stem walls, and a lot of houses missing. So let's go back to the office and talk about why I decided to purchase this lot. You might be wondering why somebody would buy a vacant lot that already has a predetermined house already placed upon it. And fair enough, most people decide to buy vacant lots because they want to start over. They want to start with something clean and build something completely customized and for themselves. However, this was not the case. Let me show you the house that this foundation has been poured for. Here is the beautiful house, let's say it that the builder was planning to put on the site. And this really constrains me of what I can do here. I have to essentially stick with the volume and the shape of this house. If you're wondering why I decided to purchase this not so vacant piece of land, well, let me share with you my thought process behind it and why this was a great investment and a great fit for me. Ever since graduating college with a master's degree in architecture and working for a while as an architectural technician, it's always been my goal and my dream to become a developer and build my own buildings. This lot had a lot of the heavy lifting already done for me. And while other people would see the foundation as an inconvenience in their dreams, I saw it as a convenience to actually get from A to B a lot quicker. And I'll go through reasons why. But this was an opportunity for me to start my own first development. Again, with all the heavy lifting being done, as I said already. But it also allowed me to start my own company, which I always wanted to do. I actually have a logo here for it that I designed called CompleteBuild, which is design and development. So we design it and we build it and even do our own development. So working with home buyers, builders, and investors, and real estate developers. That's our little target market, doing spec homes and custom homes and multifamily homes. My quick elevator pitch for this is I want to create a company that's basically just a one-stop shop for anybody's project that's over $1 million. The mission here is to make building investment properties or custom homes as easy as buying a Tesla online, where we handle property acquisition, feasibility studies, permits, design, construction, like the whole gamut of construction, and the sale of the property all in one house. So there's no multiple parties, no conflicts, no having to play referee between the designer and the builder. You know, it's super straightforward. You know exactly how much you're going to spend and how much equity you're going to end up with the project. So it's still in the works. I'm still working out all the details, getting a website set up and everything like that. But that's now on the radar. And as soon as this project's done, I'm going to be completely committed to that and giving my services out for people to hire me. So anyway, that's that's in the works. But yeah, of course, the house that you see in front of you now is the house that's slated to be built there. And while it's gonna look similar to this, I'm gonna retool it, redo the first floor plan, redo the second floor plan, and make it a little bit more stylish and give it a little bit more character. And I think I can push this from kind of the run-of-the-mill, you know, this would probably sell for, you know, 780 in Lake Bay. I can push it to the 900 to 950 mark, depending on, you know, how much I end up spending on it and what I think it's worth at the end of the day. So I'm gonna increase the square footage a little bit just to make it a little bit more livable upstairs, and just have fun with it and just make it a much better product than it currently is. And so that again feeds into my company, taking spec homes, customizing them, not reinventing the wheel here, but just making them a much better product at the end of the day. You can also ask me, why don't you just start with a vacant lot? Why do you have to go with something that's already pre-built? I mean, is it really that much money for a foundation? Well, a lot of people forget that also the utilities for a vacant lot are usually not installed. In this case, they're already pre-installed. So I have power, I have a shared well, and so Class B well that's already managed by somebody else. It's got cable, and I think it's got a phone line, I want to say. So everything's already there. Plus there's an access road. So even if the foundation wasn't there, you have all these great things already in place that allows you to start construction much quicker than you would if you had to do all those things separately. So basically when I close, I can start building. And that leads me to my next point. The building permits for this house are already valid. They've already been approved, engineering has been approved, and it's ready to go. So really, the day that I close, I can get materials and the framers out and start building this thing. So, I mean, there's no sitting on my cash and waiting for, eventually the county to approve any building permits. And the changes that I'm making to the house are not gonna do anything extreme to the structure. I have to use the existing foundation. So I'm basically reshuffling the rooms and reshuffling, some of the roof lines and some of the windows. But basically that's all I'm really doing. I'm just gonna make it look a little bit prettier, but I can start construction right away. And as for the septic, well, the septic design is approved and it's good till October. So as long as I get that septic in by October, I'm good to go. If this was any old vacant lot, it would probably take 8 months, to clear the trees, get a permit to clear the trees, because anything over, I think, 2 acres requires a forestry permit. And on top of that, just a construction permit. So you have to design, you have to have the engineer go through it, then you have to have the county approve it, and run utilities and all that. That'll probably take you 8 months just before you get a shovel in the ground to build this house. So that gives me a lot of time to get a quick turnaround on my investment. And now for the last point is that there are good comps. I showed you the neighbor, and the neighbor sold for $710 6 months ago. And while you're saying, well, $710 to $950, that's quite a stretch. Well, that was that spec home. They could have built a much better home there. I mean, not much better, but a more pricier home there, but they didn't have the comps at the time. So 2 years ago, there weren't $1 million homes going around the area without a water view. So now there are, which means, there's people looking for that price range. And if $1 million plus is too much, then they'll be looking at my house, which will be comparable and a little bit cheaper. So hopefully that'll get buyers attracted to my, to be comfortable that this house is worth that much money in Lake Bay here. When there's a vacant lot for sale, it's always important to ask, why are they selling? Especially when they've already done due diligence. I'm talking about like wetland surveys or delineations. They've done a well, they've done perk holes, they've done a septic design, they've done topographic studies, they've done a geotech, and all of a sudden they want to sell. Like, there's usually a red flag in there somewhere. Sometimes it's life getting in the way, but a lot of the times it's because somebody can't build what they thought they could build. So that was the first question I asked when it came to this lot. Why is the builder selling? What's the red flag? Well, it turns out that they actually moved from Gig Harbor to South Carolina, and so he could no longer build a spec home remotely. And it turns out his wife just didn't want to be in the Northwest anymore and suffer through the winter. So they decided, South Carolina is the place for them. So now he has a full-time job there, and that allows him really no freedom to complete the spec home. So he's like, just put on the market, whatever. I sell them at cost, let's just get rid of them. So that's why they were put on the market. The second question I ask is, why did they take 6 months to sell? And why am I the first one who's, even put a feasibility study on it? Well, I can't really explain it. Like, I looked at the lots, like any builder should have been grateful to find these, because, building permits are set, everything is really done and ready to go. So the only thing that I could really tell is that building has been slowing down because of interest rates. And then I think there just hasn't been this desire to build new homes, just because, when interests go up, the people that are buying these spec homes also have to pay a lot of interest on a spec home. So I think it's just the market's slowing down. And the last thing, is the price of the vacant land justifiable? In this case, the asking price was $195,000, and for 1.28 acres. And so, working backwards, you can say, okay, is that a reasonable price? Well, I estimated, the acreage itself, if it was just vacant, would probably be $110,000 out in Lake Bay. And then we have a Class B well would probably cost $80,000, but because it's shared between 4 lots, it's $20,000 per lot, so you can add $20,000 for the well. The last one is, it's about 15 grand for building permits. That's essentially to get the approval from the city to say, hey, we allowed you to build. Last one is, I think it's about, or second to last is, it's about $35,000 for the road, utilities, and septic design. The septic design is about 5 grand just for the design. And then the foundation and such, and the garage pads probably runs around $15,000. So, all in all, the at cost price is, pretty spot on for $195,000. So I thought, okay, I'll buy it at cost. I'm not gonna ask for $5,000 off. In the grand scheme of things, trying to nickel and dime, whatever. Just $5,000, suck it up, Buttercup, right? And we'll make that money back on the sale. All right, what are the next steps? I'm currently still in the feasibility stage of this thing, but the feasibility runs out on the 3rd of July. So after the 3rd of July, the house is pretty much mine. During this feasibility study, I have the chance to get bids coming in, so that for the roof trusses and giving some subcontractors a bid to see, making sure that nobody blows my construction estimate out of the water. So to make sure I can actually make a profit at the end of the day on this thing. But assuming all goes swimmingly, I'll have between the 3rd of July to the 17th just to wait. And I was contemplating during this waiting game to start building the pony walls and the mud sill and getting the crawl space already and the foundation prepped for the county to inspect. And so once the county says A-okay, it looks all great, you can start essentially building, I'll start hitting the ground running on the 17th with framers. So that'll be, I think, what I'm planning. And then before the framers can get in there, I need to clear an 8-foot perimeter around the foundation and getting all that Scotch broom out. So that's for me to do next. Other than that, once it starts being framed, I'm going to put this thing into Revit actually today, getting it all modeled, getting 3D renderings, and getting a 3D walkthrough. So hopefully that can be on the market, so it can be for sale before it even gets completed. Well, that's pretty much it. We're just going to put it on the market then, and then on to the next lot.